Hello, this is Dr. Liz Smith with Dr. Liz Soul Care. Okay, so you say, what is soul care? Soul care is caring for your soul. Uh, it, Soul means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, I would suppose. But for us, in this context, our soul is anything that's related to who we are as humans, our mind, our will, our emotions, our behavior, in other words, when we say will. So that means a lot of things that we do, uh, a lot of things that we say. That's our behaviors, our interactions with people. That's what makes us uniquely us, and so that's our soul. Also, our emotions, our feelings, and our emotions, our feelings in motion, as well as our mental, our mind, uh, our thought processes, and things like that. So, again, I am Dr. Liz, PhD, not MD or DO, but PhD. And so, what I want to do and what I feel like God has mandated me to do as a licensed professional counselor, if you see all the acronyms, that's LPC is licensed professional counselor, BCTMH, board certified telemental health provider, and I have a PhD in education. So this is an educational approach. So I didn't want to say life coach because I'm an educator. I love to make sure that I teach you psychoeducation is what it's called. Teach you the keys that you need, the tools you need to succeed in every area of your life and to heal. That's that psychotherapy component to heal everywhere in your life, as well as spiritual. Because yes, I am clinical Christian counselor. Uh, so I want us to focus on that. So this is my broadcast is soul care, psychoeducation, consultation, seminars, life coaching, all the same thing. Okay, so we're going to be talking. I wanted you to end this year in a way that gives God glory in your life, that allows you to heal everywhere you're hurting. And so this is called my Soul Care End of the Year Soul Care Challenge. We're going to be coming live every Saturday, maybe even Monday, so that we are able to allow you an opportunity to learn some things and to implement some things that are going to heal you. So, the acronym CARE, it says comprehensive approaches. C, comprehensive. A, approaches, restores entirely. That's spirit, soul, and body. A big part of who we are, I always say, we are communal beings. We don't get here by ourselves. And even though we say you can't take anybody with you when you leave this earth, you really don't leave by yourself. If you pass away, I don't care if you are a hermit. First of all, if you're here, then that means you have parents, and your parents had parents, and your parents may have siblings, even if you're an only child and they're only children. Somebody has impacted your life. But let's say you have a big family, then those people have impacted your life. So we don't even leave here by ourselves. We have other people that are here helping us along our journey. So, what I want to do is just help us this first one today. I want us to talk about that, our relationships. Because, as I said, we are communal beings and we need each other and we have other people in our lives. Whether you're dealing with anxiety or anger or depression or trauma, typically somebody was involved in causing you some type of emotion, whether that was your parents, whether that was your children, your siblings, uh, a coworker, a boss, supervisor, teacher, professor, pastor, uh, members, employees. Someone has pushed those buttons and you're needing some relief. So I want to start with that because no matter what, we never like list relation issues, but relation issues cause a lot of problems. So I have 3 steps that I like to use to help people through their problems. The first one is processing. Usually that's talking to someone. But if you can't talk to anybody or you don't want to talk to anybody about your stuff, then what can you do? You can journal. right? So I'm going to give you some prompts on some how-tos and what you can do. Because I can just say go journal. You can just write any old thing, and that doesn't mean it's going to lead to you getting healthy, right? Doesn't lead you to uncluttering your soul. So we want to unclutter in a way that's helpful. Number two is coping skills. Coping skills that we teach. You hear people talk, we do breathing, like if you're doing trauma, but what is a coping skill that you have when it comes to your relationships? I'll let you know soon. And the third thing is self-care. I don't care whether you're man or woman, married or unmarried. Your self-care is a big part of what we don't do enough of. You know, even the most, I guess, shallow materialistic person is all about me. Uh, Intrinsically, they may not be caring for themselves. You may care for yourself on the outside, but are you caring for yourself on the inside? So that's important. So I want to make sure that we talk about that. Okay, so number one, processing. Let's talk about it. How can our relationships be better? Where are there some problems then? Some of the problems could be in our communication. So let's talk about that. It's only going to be 30 minutes. And so I'm not going to go into a lot of depths. Like I said, we're going to talk a little bit, and then we'll be back next week to talk more. So how can we resolve things or what are some of the problems in our relationships? Well, one of them is not resolving the problems. So so we can have some problems going on. I always talk to couples about fighting fair or fighting in a healthy way. How can you fight healthy? Fighting healthy is having an idea that each person is going to win something. It's going to be a win-win dynamic in your relationship. So how can you win-win in a relationship? Okay, so what are we wanting out of the disagreement? Are we wanting just to win? Are we just wanting to dominate the situation? Are we trying to control those various variables in our relationship? Or are we wanting an emotional need met? So tracking what your motive is important. And then doing your own self-check. Like, okay, Lord, do I have the right motive behind all of this that I'm saying to my spouse, to my parent, to my loved one, to my partner, to my coworker, to my friend, to my frenemy, to my boss, whomever, in that dynamic that you're having a interaction with? What is your motive? It's okay to advocate for yourself. So we talk about ways of communication. You can be passive, you can be you can be assertive, or you can be aggressive. And then you hear about passive aggressive. Typically, okay, you're passive, you're avoiding conflict, you're avoiding the fight. But then you take it and take it and take it and take it until you can't take it anymore, and then you're aggressive, right? Which is the opposite of what you want. Then you go from, you're not assertive, you think you got to fight whoever it is to get your needs met. Consequently, the interaction is still not healthy, and it's a blow up. And as a result of that, the blow up, then sometimes, obviously, then you have the guilt. And it's kind of like that never ending cycle. Now I have a guilt. Excuse me. My lemon water. So then you have that guilt that I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it through this dynamic, through this relationship, through whatever problem we're having. And so you struggle with that. Then you have someone who's aggressive. I'm going to go to two extremes. An aggressive person is, I need to fight for what I need. I don't care what you need, but I need blah, 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 or I want, or this is what's concerning me. And so you're not listening to that person. You're only advocating and fighting for your dynamics, whether that's at work, whether that's in the home, or wherever you are. Not necessarily going to lead you to, if your motive is trying to have a positive outcome of relationship and interaction with whomever you're talking to, then being aggressive is not the answer either. It may get you what you want, but I don't know if it gives you what you need. Okay, so assertive is where you want to be. That's the sweet spot in the middle. It's not overly passive and not advocating for yourself, and it's not overly aggressive where you're only advocating for you and not anybody else. Being assertive in your communication means I care about my needs. I'm going to voice my needs, and I'm going to try to do it in a way that is not abusive or targeting any person or blaming. It's only, I need these things. These are some things that you may be doing that's hindering that. But also, you care about the other person. So your communication style is going to be different because your motive is different. So that's something to think about. The other thing that I want you to think about after you think about your communication style is number 2 is resolving the conflict. How do you resolve it? Or is it resolved? A lot of times, male and female, I know that women, we get the bad rap that we bring up stuff, but I think we all do. I have seen it. We all do, male and female. We bring it up. It just comes up differently. But the problem, why does it come up? I'm not going to go into the gender differences, but why does it come back? It comes back because it's not resolved. Did we fix it? Did we feel heard? Do we feel like, okay, what I said, we finally talked about it? No. If I say something hurtful to my husband, and then I give a little sarcastic apology, I can guarantee you it's not resolved with him, not in his heart. And vice versa. If you say some hurtful things to your kids, and then, okay, you took the phone out of haste because, I don't know, they didn't wash the dishes, but then you realize, oh, they didn't wash the dishes because, oh, they had to do their homework because they had soccer, that you advocate for them to be in, and they had to travel here and they had to go here, and then they got overwhelmed that they couldn't get it done because they didn't have, they don't have a time machine to create more time for themselves. So then you realize, okay, I was being a little harsh. And so maybe you give them their phone back. Okay. But I guarantee you, they may not be the happiest camper that you just gave them their phone back. That doesn't mean it fixed your relationship. And you wonder why my child is like so sarcastic and just, indifferent. It says, I don't understand and all these things. Well, you didn't resolve it. You may have, I don't even know, I want to say fix the problem, but I'll say fix the problem. You gave them their phone back and said, my bad. I understand you didn't have time, but you didn't really allow the kiddo to talk, to tell you how they felt. So resolving it is allowing people to resolve their feelings, allowing them to talk about it. So when that happens, how do you avoid the blame shifting, or it's kind of, I don't want to hear your thoughts or whatever, is to check yourself. What is the motive? We're going back to motive. The motive is that I want to have a good relationship with the person I'm talking with. The motive is I want to represent myself in a positive light with them. I want to represent God in a positive light. Okay. So if that's the case, then in order to do that, you want to make sure that how you're communicating is going to lead you down that path. And it also means you got to allow each person has to resolve it. So you got to talk to that kiddo. Use the kiddo. I like that one. That keeps us from getting too upset with each other. So if, okay, you want to talk to Billy. Okay, Billy, I'm sorry I took your phone, Bill. My bad. I was not thinking, not processing. You got to, okay, you said your piece, but now you got to let your son, you got to let the kiddo tell you what's wrong with them. Like, okay, well, yeah, but okay, they're going to be emotional. God forbid, so let them have an emotion. God created us. He gave us all these emotions. It's not the devil. God created us. He gave us these emotions, and they need to be expressed and they need to be processed. Then you can get to the end of it, right? Well, Dad, next time, can you please do, keep it keep in mind that, I have to travel. I got this is overwhelming. Oh, really? Tell me more about that, son. And then they get you loud them to talk. And I'm saying, you can say, I'm so sorry that you're going through that. Yeah. I mean, do you want to? No, I don't want to quit. I want to keep going. It's just hard. Yeah. Well, we're gonna make it through. I understand sometimes it's hard. Maybe there's something we can do. Solution focused therapist, one of those things, problem solve, in other words. What is something we can do to put in place? It's usually communication, calendar. Let's put a calendar on the wall. Let me help you. When you know that you got a game and you got several practices, let's communicate ahead of time and let's figure out some ways that we can help you to get it done uh, the way you want it done. Let's figure out some ways that we can uh, do it ahead of time, communicate with the teacher, maybe have more time, things like that, right? Problem solving. So that's a coping skill that I want you to work on. Okay, is communicating. You got to know what your motive is. You got to check yourself. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. That's okay. I'm dating myself on it, but check yourself before you wreck yourself. Before you wreck your relationship, and give yourself a self check. Don't get so offended or assume something that based on someone's reactions or emotions that it's always about you, or it may be about you but it's also about something more or different. So allow yourself to check that and allow yourself to give grace to your family. I read a book years ago. It's called Families Where Grace is in Place. And I just love that title alone, just speaks volumes. When you are in communication with someone, put grace, put grace in place related to your relationship. That's so important. Do you have grace in place in your relationship? Because that's very important to have that. Okay. And with your family and with your relationships, whoever you're talking to, extend that grace. Okay, they're acting a donkey. Okay, I'm gonna let them have. What did they say? I'm gonna let them make it. I'm gonna let them make it because they got some problems. Sometimes it has nothing to do with you. Number three, does it really what's going on? Does it have anything to do with you? Maybe it's them. So you hadn't done anything, or you if you walk in the door and you just meet someone and they're frowned up. Okay, you're at an event. You're already kind of self-conscious anyway. You're like, I'm gonna be at this event. I don't know if I'm dressed like I want to be, blah, blah, blah. Whatever your insecurity may be, or your self-conscious thoughts that may be. They look at you and they're frowning up. Are they okay? They just saw you, especially if they don't know you. Is it you or is it them? And what if they come at you, but is it really you if they don't know you? No, it's them. It's their stinking thinking. It's their whatever. So you don't let someone else's stuff be put on you, because maybe it's not you at all and it's just totally about them. It has nothing to do with you. Okay. So that can allow you to not go into that wrong headspace in your head. Okay. And the last thing I would like to say as it relates to helping yourself in a relationship and how we communicate and resolving it is this. Let's do that self check. Is are we okay? Did what we say resolve, fix? Okay. And then you have a strategy moving forward. So I kind of said that already, but I just wanted to reiterate that first. Make sure that it's okay. We resolved it. Make sure for both of you, really, not coercion, not you don't want to be bothered, and so you just kind of intimidate the person into saying yes, fix when it's not fixed. But truly, they feel okay. But when we talk about God loves us and we can be repentful, and we repent and God forgives us. He said He is faithful and just to forgive us of all our sins. And so if He's faithful and just to forgive us, then sometimes we have to forgive ourselves and sometimes we have to forgive other people. Forgiving other people and forgiving ourselves is big. So allow yourself to do that, to extend grace, but also forgiveness, and to know that if you're repentant. Now, God says we say a lot of times about making sure we're checking ourselves. Again, check yourself before you wreck yourself. God forgives us. He does. He's faithful and just if we ask for forgiveness. But that's because we have a repentant heart, right? We don't want to go back into it. Like Paul said, grace abounds, but should we continue in sin because grace is there? No, God forbid. We shouldn't continue in sin just because he has forgiven us. It's the same dynamic with your relationships, the different dynamic of relationships you're in. Just because someone forgave you doesn't mean you're supposed to just go back and do the same thing. Okay, I'm gonna slap you again, even though you forgave me. That's not going to be a good situation in a relationship. And that's when you know, should I stay in this relationship? Do I need to stay in a relationship where and it's not, again, it's not just intimacy, intimate partners or your spouse or boyfriend, girlfriend, but it's also other dynamics of other relationships. But if you're in a relationship, you want to check and make sure when it comes to someone, uh, is it a toxic relationship? Is this a relationship that's toxic that I don't need to be in? And you need to check that. Are they being verbally abusive, saying things to you, calling you out your name? Mental abuse is like playing games. You hear people talk about gaslighting, telling you that you did something when you didn't do it, telling you what that's what you think, and you didn't tell them what you thought, but they're going to tell you what your thoughts are. Um, so we've done a lot, especially since 2000. We hear a lot about narcissistic personality disorder. And I'm just touching on a few things, and then I go into depth later. You'll see different things. But narcissistic personality, usually most people are not just narcissistic. Sometimes they're a cluster. They may be borderline personality disorder, along with narcissism. Borderline is your relationship is the best thing ever, and then it's poo water. It's the worst thing ever. They over evaluate it. It's the best thing, and then they devalue it. It's the worst thing. Worst of times and the best of times. So they threaten things and engage in high risk activity when they're up high. It almost looks like bipolar behavior, but it's in your personality. Then you may have someone, like I said, we know a narcissist, they're kind of concerned about themselves only. But there's different types of narcissists, and we'll do that for another soul care class. But you also have someone who may be antisocial personality disorder, or have that rather. Antisocial personality doesn't mean they don't like being around people. That's you just kind of depressed or have some social anxiety. But no, antisocial personality disorder is someone who criminal minded, don't care who they hurt to get what they want. And so if they're hurting you physically, other ways, if they're hurting you emotionally, financially, those are all abusive hurts. Those are all ways to hurt someone that are not healthy. And you have to gauge if I need to stay in this relationship or do I need to stand back. You can forgive somebody, but you can love them. God said, "Oh, no man but to love them." The greatest commandment: love God with your everything, your heart, your mind, your soul, your strength. Love others as you love yourself. You can love somebody, but you can love them from a distance. Jesus told the disciples, if they don't receive from you and they don't want to be a part of me, then dust off your feet. It says there's a testimony against them, but basically get on up out of there. Okay. And so if someone is not healthy for you, then you may need to disengage. If a job is not healthy for you and you have worked and you have changed and tweaked and adjusted and did the things that they told you needed to do, and it's still not good enough, and they're still saying this and that about you, then perhaps you need to go ahead and remove yourself. Maybe you need to find another job. Maybe you need to think more highly of yourself and believe that God has something better. Start putting in the applications. Start doing what you know that you can do for yourself. Maybe you always wanted to be in business. Have you ever just took too long to step out by faith, and then all of a sudden you either lay it off or they wanted to fire you anyway, and then you get pushed into where you're supposed to have been going because God been laying on your heart for I don't know how long to leave there, and you wouldn't leave. So, think about those things. Let's think about it as it relates to marriage. And I guess this fourth thing that I'm talking about is knowing when to leave and when to stay. How to fight for your relationship or in there and doing improving it. Or number 4, when do you disengage? When do you may need to leave? So that's those abusive dynamics. You can love somebody. The scripture says, a lot of people say, well, what about marriage? We really don't want to, we're in marriage for life, But when is enough enough? And only you and God can answer that question. But perhaps there is some abuse in that relationship, in that marriage. And if it is, that's not a good place to be. That's not where you want to be in a relationship. And you ever prayed? God tells us to pray, and we believe God, right? Or we wouldn't walk that Christian walk and believe Him. We wouldn't walk that Christian faith if we didn't have faith to believe that He could heal us and He can hear and answer our prayers. And because He says He's faithful and just to forgive, He says we ask anything of Him and He will do it. And I know you may have been praying for that relationship, whether married or not married, for a while, but the abuse keeps happening, or the cheating, or I don't know, alcoholism or drug addiction or gambling or other things that are bad habits that they can't stop or won't stop. Maybe you have prayed and been praying and fasting and praying and got other people praying, and maybe they'll change for a little bit, but they go back to it. Or maybe they'll admit they got a problem, but they keep going back to it. When do you know if enough is enough? Well, like I said, only you can know that and make that determination. But you got to make steps, just like it is like leaving a job when the employer or supervisor or manager is not wanting to promote you or treating you unfairly or whatever. It's the same thing in a relationship, even though marriage, of course, is much more strong, deeper, personable. The scripture says, Jesus said, well, yeah, in the beginning, they did not allow for divorce, but except for your hard heart, adultery and hard heart. But even when people are caught in adultery, it's not that easy for someone to disengage from their marriage. It's like, I know I need to. They keep doing it. It's like person number 5, and I'm still here. So there's more things to work through that we'll have to do on another day, because I'm just kind of touching some general topics of soul care in relationships. But have you ever gone in and just prayed just something, just threw up a prayer? Lord, I need new shoes. I don't know where I'm gonna get some shoes. I don't have no money today, and my paycheck coming, but it's already I gotta pay rent and blah blah blah. But I need some shoes. They're talking to me. They got a hold. They just like burr, burr, burr. So, and next thing you know, somebody blesses you with some shoes. I have an extra pair of shoes. Do you want these shoes? The Lord bless me, or I bought these shoes and they're too tight, or whatever, or I just figured I would bless you. Here you go. That's answering your prayer just like that. So if He will answer your prayer for something frivolous, how much greater will He answer you for things related to that touch your heart, whether it's your family member or someone that you're in relationship with? Of course, He touches their heart. But it's up to each and every individual person. He is praying for you and touching your heart as it relates to your spouse, your loved one, that person that you're in relationship with. So it goes both ways. Let me clarify. So if you don't want that person to leave you, if you don't want that person to be gone, and you want to make sure that they're there for you, if you want that, same thing, you got to consider changing. You got to have a soft heart. You got to be willing to say, okay, something's wrong. I'm kind of jacked up. I got to fix this. Otherwise, it's not going to be fixed. It's not going to be fixed if you don't allow it. If you don't allow for change for yourself, it's not going to be fixed. If that person doesn't allow and open themselves up to be fixed, whether that's getting counseling, whether that's talking to a pastor or a lay leader in the church, or someone in their community that has their ear that they can listen to, that they know that they trust. If you don't listen to these people and they're giving you wise counsel, whether it's professional or informal, doesn't matter, and you're just, I know they're right, but then your relationships are going to end. They're not going to be healthy like you want them to be. The last thing I want to say is self-care. And when it comes to your relationship, what does self-care have to do with a relationship? I always say that self-care is mental health care. Self-care is soul care. If you care about your relationships, this is what we're talking about right now. You care about yourself. If you care about yourself, you'll care about those that you're in relationship with. You'll love yourself as you love others. Love others as you love yourself. And you'll receive love from others and give love to others as you give it to God. My husband, I love it. We came to this revelation many years back, and we're talking about love. We say God is love, right? So we have a vertical relationship with God, living out that great commandment, but we also have a horizontal love relationship with other people. How awesome is that? Horizontal relationship that we have with others, and that makes the cross. But think about the in-depthness of it, the 3D of it is the love that you have for yourself, right there in the center, right there in the middle. If you love yourself right, you'll love others. If you don't love yourself right, you're not going to love other people right. It's just truth, 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 truth. We're going to talk more about what true love is. We're going to talk about more about specific disorders that I talked about. This is psychoeducation. This is soul care, psychoeducation. And so we're going to be doing a lot of soul care education, psychoeducation. We being I, God, I might have some people on here to talk with you. We're going to talk more in depth. So that is the things that I want you to work on. So how can you work on self-care? Because I'm a very practical person. I like you to be able to do that. Obviously, is checking yourself before you wreck yourself and saying, okay, I know that I need to work on this. You can talk to God. That's the spiritual component of it. Journaling it out and working through some of those past family of origin, FOO, will mess you up. So when I do counseling, that's one of the first things that I do in the intake. Okay, how did some of this cheating that I do all the time, or this aggressive communication, is it a part of some trauma responses that I had as a kiddo? Trying to control everything, kind of OCD behavior that I have, and driving everybody crazy in the house, and everything's got to be just so. Come from something in my family of origin, or when I was a young adult, or a teen, or something related to high school. Doing the work is important. That's self-care, that's self-love. And then we'll work more on that. We're going to talk about that next. I think that's a good one to talk about. It's that self-love. What does that look like? And how can we make that bigger, better in our lives? Not carrying this baggage into the next year. So I want you to unclutter. You got to get some of this stuff out. Take some of these things out. And I'm not saying that you have to unclutter relationships, but you have to unclutter the things that are keeping your relationships unhealthy. Take those things out. Unclutter your soul of past harm that has nothing to do with your present relationship. Those people, they may not be just in the past, they may be right here now, and they may still be doing something. That's why Jesus said, forgive, or you have to forgive 70 times 7, not because of what you're doing. It's because you got to know that some people are just broken. And if they're not willing to let that hard heart be healed by spiritual counsel, by a actual counselor, mental health provider, or life coach, and or may need even psychiatrists. They may need to see a medical doctor, psychiatrist for medication. And if they're not willing to do those things, they're not willing to do what it takes to get healed, get healthy, then they're going to continue to have bad habits, bad behavior, stinking thinking. Has nothing to do with you. It's about their brokenness. And so if you can realize that sometimes the unhealthy relationship dynamics that you're going through has zero to do with you, and all to do with something that person is going through in their fallen nature, in their brokenness, then hopefully it will help you to heal, help you to see it in a better light, and not hold all of that in, so that you can love yourself, so you can stop saying nobody loves me, nobody cares about me. So depression, when we're thinking loneliness, rejection, it's all about, not all, but a lot of it is about our relationships. We can be anxious and stressed because of our relationships. We can be depressed and lonely and isolating because of our relationships. So our relationships are very important. So I want you to look at those, evaluate those relationships. Now, I say this is not about disengaging from relationships, but you do need to look at that. You need to see if there's anyone that in your relationship that maybe, or in your community, in your support, system of peeps. Maybe a friend of me that needs to go. Maybe someone that you're gonna have to love at a distance, because family, they family. But you can love them from a distance. I always say relationships is like jump rope relationships, like double dutch, double dutch. You know how you jump in, you out there, you jump in, and you okay, you're in there and you're out. Okay. So sometimes we have jump rope relationships. We're there for 30 minutes. We did the 1 hour Thanksgiving meal. Okay, I'm gonna see you December. I don't know. But you have to protect yourself most definitely in some unhealthy, toxic relationships. But some of them are family. Sometimes you just can't have close relationships with people that may hurt you. You got to protect yourself. God didn't never say don't protect yourself. Okay. So we'll get more into it. I know I just said that and then you thought, well, what did he say? He said, turn the other cheek. Oh Lord, we're going to get into that later. We're going to talk about it some more later about forgiving. And how do you stay in harm's way, or should you stay in harm's way? That's for another time. But I would say he loves you. He loves you as an individual. And you can love people at a distance. You don't have to be right there in their face. You can love them at a distance. And how are you going to be able to move forward in what God's called you to do if you're holding on to someone? So you got to be able to differentiate. Okay. All righty. So those are my 5 points that I wanted to talk to you about today. And I hope it helps you. And we're going to come back next Sunday, same time, 3 p.m., for another live soul care challenge. So this challenge, what is the challenge? Restore, work on your relationships, unclutter the relationships, heal the relationships, move forward in seeing what you need to do. I gave you some steps and some tips on what to do. And I want to see you go forward and live a healthy, transformed, loving, soul care full life that you heal everywhere you hurt. Heal everywhere you hurt in your soul. All right, this is Dr. Liz. I'm signing off, and I look forward to seeing you soon. So share this. If you like this, please share this with other people. Please subscribe, like it, share it. And I look forward to you guys definitely subscribing so you can hit the notification thing. I'm learning about YouTube, so but hit the notification button so that you'll get the reminders of when the next one is coming. All right. I thank you for joining me. Talk to you soon.